was recently honored by President Obama at the White House for her sacrifices, and she's like a mother to me and Jihad and a few youth that she worked with and mentored from Washington, D.C. I say hundreds of youth. We do the civil rights tours. She leads us through Alabama, Mississippi, and Atlanta, and took us in the houses of all the great civil rights leaders before they died, like Amelia Morton Robinson, all the people you saw in Selma. We went with this young lady to their houses, and we got to meet them, and she has been a great inspiration. So, without further ado, can we start off with Pastor Gwendolyn Webb, the foot soldier.
Foot soldier.
Young lady, I like that. Young lady, I like that. Now, you know, if I was with Dr. King and all of those outstanding leaders, I'm still a young lady, though. I tell you, if I may, Pastor, say this quickly. At first, I was telling Mo, I said, Mo, how you gonna take me to church looking like this? He said, Pastor, during the movement, that's what we did. That's what you did. So, like I tell other people, excuse my attire, but at least I got clothes on. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, most gracious Father, Lord God, we come to you tonight just to say thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for bringing us along the highways and the byways safely. Thank you, Jesus, for bringing me all the way in the air from Birmingham, Alabama, and letting the pilots set it down, and you got me here safely, and I want to say thank you. Thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for looking beyond our faults. I said our faults, which have been many, but you constantly see into every last one of our needs. Now, God, as we're about to embark upon this outstanding forum, Lord God, let us listen and be attentive to what these entrepreneurs are saying to us. Listen attentively to what this pastor and Mo and other leaders have got together to you. Listen attentively and get busy now. Just like TDJ said, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Eyes have not seen, nor have ears heard what the Lord has in store for each and every last one of us. Oh, come on, people. Come on now, let's get ready for it. Because here, right here tonight, you're about to receive a blessing that you have not received before in your life. Just get ready to listen. Get ready to see, but get ready to accept it. Of all of those who believe in the word of God as it is written and agree with this prayer, Lord God, let us say amen. 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 Amen.
So first, I would like to talk about how we got here. I came here maybe about 3 weeks ago and to meet my tax guy. And he said, come sign your papers, meet me at East Friendship Baptist Church. So I get here, he says, a guy in there you know, but you need to talk to him. So I get to talking to him, and it comes out that he helped 23 of his members start their own business. And I was like, well, that's the church I need to be in. Because that's what church is supposed to be about, empowering people, right? And I'm not talking about just starting little Kool-Aid stands. I'm talking about real businesses that move people and communities forward. And that's what we have to do in this city. And when we look at Ward 7, Ward 7 is one of the untouched jewels in the city, unfortunately and fortunately. Because there's still property over here that we can get to if we work together, collectively. Right? Can somebody say collectively? So we can come together. We're running out of time, right? And pull ourselves together and think like King started thinking before he died. Some say that's the reason why he was killed. Because he started talking about echo what? Echo what? Economics. So we have to understand that with all the billions of dollars that are in this city, cut us in or cut us out. But we can't be cut in if we're not ready. We can't be cut in if we don't have our stuff together. We can't be cut in if we're not informed. We can't be cut in if we don't know what an AA certification is or having a CBE, right? certification, right? So that's why we're doing this today. We did something months ago at the RISE Center. It was called Return Citizens Matter, Road to Self-Sufficiency. And I think that encouraged some other things to happen. We have Vince Orange and Courtney Snowden coming. You see Andy Shalal up there, who's chairing the WIC Council, which stands for Workforce Investment Council. And that's very important because it oversees the dollars that go into workforce development in our city. And how many of you all have seen programs that give our young people a piece of paper but not a job?
That's right.
So that means somebody's getting paid for you coming somewhere for 6 weeks or 6 months or 9 months, but then when you finish, you don't have no job, right? So my thinking is that, first of all, most of the people in our community who are doing wrong are entrepreneurs. They either got a legal product or a legal service, right? And a lot of people who are not doing nothing want to do something, but it's not in their interest. There's nothing that's sparking interest in them or to their strengths. So that's what this is about. We have a lot of powerful people in this audience that I see, all entrepreneurs. They're about getting money, and they're about doing it the right way. They just need opportunities. There are roadblocks. There are a lot of things going on. So that's what this is about. Councilmember Orange come, he's going to have to leave. So one of the things we're going to do is allow him to introduce the legislation that he's working on, which is called From Incarceration to Incorporation. Right? Let's say it again. From incarceration to, does that make sense? That makes a lot of sense, right? Those are the type of programs we need, right? So, without further ado, we're going to get started. Before we get started, I'm going to acknowledge somebody who just walked in the room too. Dr. John Monroe, who is sponsoring with Blue Sky Construction and AWASH, the events that we're doing, the floats that we're doing in the parade for the weekend. And I'd just like to thank those two brothers in the back who always sponsor what I've done when I'm doing stuff in the community. They're developers in this city, and it's a shame that we don't have one developer in this city doing over 25 million in deals with all this money in the city. And they hire people in our community.
That's right.
Anybody know Blue Sky AWAS, all you see is people from the community working on the job, but if you knew what they had to go through to get a contract, it'll blow your mind.
Right now.
So those are things, but we have to be educated on these things. So without further ado, we're going to start with Reverend Maxwell, and we want you to give us some insight on the program that you have, and then we're going to hear word from Brother Shalal, and we'll come from my left to your right up here to talk about your business that you started, and then we're going to have questions from the audience. By then, Orange and Sister Snowden should be here, Deputy Mayor Snowden, and then we'll go to the audience for questions and comments, and we're going to have a positive dialogue because it's about coming up with solutions. And like Andy said, he wants to hear what should government be doing better. He has some ideas, but he don't feel all of our pain. He feels some of it. But Andy is a rich socialist, as he would call it. But he started from the bottom, and now he's here, right? And some of us can start from the bottom, and we're trying to get where he at. I know I am, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to work hard, you got to be educated, and you got to have the opportunity that everybody else has in this city. Yeah. So with that being said, we'll move that way.
Thank you, Brother Ron. Good evening, everyone. I greet you in the name that is above every name. And at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow and every tongue should confess. I would like to welcome each of you to East Friendship Baptist Church, to this MLK Economic Justice and Entrepreneurship Panel and Dialogue. Again, we thank all of our sponsors from Jack Kemp Foundation, Carolina Kitchen, Caribbean Citations, Contemporary Family Services. We're always glad to see a great man of God, Andy Shalal, and others will come. I want to also thank my East Friendship Baptist staff just for all their hard work and all our congregation to think ahead, strategic thinking church. I just want to first put this dialogue that we're going to have in a little context, because economic justice, when we talk about it, falls in the context and the purview of social justice. But it is really an imperative that is steeped in moral precepts and principles set on building economic institutions and launching economic vision that is transformation. East Friendship Baptist Church is a community church that is serious about making the world a difference. And to be in the neighborhood, in the community, and not be part of the community is foolishness. And so we take being in the community, and we are the community. Ontologically, we are part of the community. We're not separated. And so we're very intentional about what we do in this community, Ward 7, and we're very serious about accomplishing our goals. We create opportunities for each person. We believe that each individual and family should have revenue streams. If you get it from a biblical context, when God created man, He put us in the Garden of Eden, and there was 4 rivers flowing through it in Africa. And so God had His intention that there's always streams flowing through a family. And so until we understand that we have a responsibility to create revenue streams, we are not able to impact our communities. We cannot be waiting for someone to give us something. We have to take what belongs to us. Somebody say amen. And begin to impact our lives and be able to impact every generation following us. So it's in this kind of context that we are focusing tonight because we're about entrepreneurship, commodifying our passions, looking into our hearts and seeing what we really have interest in, and making sure to make it leap into entrepreneurship where you can make money. But it's not with a selfish intent, because true entrepreneurship is not just about making money, but it's using the power of money to impact lives. And a lot of us want to have businesses, but at the root, East Friendship, myself and our leaders, we started with financial literacy and knowing how to handle money. That's why a lot of us can't win the Powerball. Lord have mercy. Because it would kill us. We wouldn't know what to do with it.
I sure would like to try dying.
You'd like to try that?
I'd like to try dying that way.
But we have to also teach financial literacy and how to deal with money, how to handle money. We have to teach debt reduction, financial freedom, and then move. We strategically begin moving behind the scenes and starting businesses, helping people to obtain contracts, introducing them to teaming agreements, talking to them about socioeconomic programs that's beneficial with government contract. Now, my background, I'm a certified professional contract manager. I came through the Air Force. I've been through 8A. I've been through all the economic programs, veteran-owned companies, and we built businesses. But one of the things that was important to me is not just building my businesses, but building brothers coming behind me and sisters coming behind me. And so I believe that entrepreneurship is also transitioning sometimes the gift that you have into other people and making sure it keeps going 3 and 4 generations. And so the 1% is running 90% of the money economy in America, and we have to do something to change that. But we have to open our minds to be willing to do things in a different way and think differently. Because what's happening between our ears is having an impact on what we're really doing today. So East Friendship is about transformation. We're so glad you're here. I'm so glad to be here with these brothers and sisters and the businesses that are going to talk tonight. We again want to welcome you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's fortuitous that we are here on this Martin Luther King weekend. Martin Luther King said that there's an inseparable twin to racial injustice, and that is economic injustice. And I think oftentimes we talk about these issues of what is economic justice, what does it mean, we don't really quite understand. And I want us to move beyond slogans, because it's not about just slogans. A slogan is a good start, but I've seen too many slogans just hang in there, just stay slogans, become a bumper sticker, and then they're put aside. But you gotta have a car to put a bumper sticker on it, right?
Yeah.
I think when I ran for mayor here in DC, and I spent most of my time here in Ward 8 and Ward 7, I would encounter people, and people would say, the first thing they'd ask me is, are you going to get me a job? That's the first question people would ask. And I would have to answer, I don't know if I can get you a job. I'm not sure I can get you a job. I've recently been appointed the Workforce Investment Council Chairman. It's a council that oversees some of the money that gets through from the Department of Labor that gets distributed for workforce investment, job training. The reason why I wanted this position when the mayor asked me to accept it is because as a business person, I see it on this side where people come in with these certificates that you talked about, Ron, earlier, where they bring a certificate that is full of hope and full of promise. And yet, what the certificate says doesn't necessarily translate into real life work. Somebody has a certificate with a culinary program that they've gone through, they come in, they cannot cut a carrot. That is not a certificate worth the paper it's written on. And too often people are put through these programs that benefit no one but the person that's doing the training, and really do nothing to the people that are going through it, giving them false hope and false sense that they're going to be able to get a job at the end of this road. I've seen, and I've said this, and I mean it, I've seen somebody with 6 certificates walk in with different types of training, and they were completely unprepared for the jobs that are out there. There are 770,000 jobs in this city, and there are 660,000 people. There are way more jobs than there are people here. So why do we have so much unemployment? Why do we have so many people that are still falling behind? The reason why is because people are given a false sense of hope, a false sense of training for them to be able to succeed in the workforce. So my goal as the Council of Workforce Investment is as the chairman of the Workforce Investment Council, is to make sure that we don't use workforce investment money as a scheme to money launder money to people who are making a lot of money and not giving service to the people that need it. And I feel a lot of times that's what happens. I'm really tired of seeing how much we have over $100 million that is out there, that is spent on workforce investment. And when we see the results, we don't get pennies to the dollar for that kind of money. That needs to be turned around. It is a crime. It is a crime to see so much money being spent that is not netting jobs, real jobs for people. I wanted to get into it because I want to get deep into it. I've been doing lots of reading, lots of time. Courtney will tell you here, Deputy Mayor Snowden will tell you that I've been spending days and hours really poring over the literature and the information. I'm trying to figure out, like, why has it taken so long? Why are we been placed on the Department of Labor worst list in the country? Why is that? Why are we at risk? A city that should do so much better, a city that has so much hope and so much promise, why are we at the very bottom of that list? It makes no sense. So when somebody says, can you get me a job? It is not my job to get you a job. It is my job to remove every barrier possible, to give you every possible tool you have, because this is about economic empowerment. It is not about somebody handing you something or giving you a job. It's about removing the barriers. And there are a lot of barriers. And we have a lot of money. So we can remove those barriers and allow people to succeed and do the best they can be and be able to not be pushed out by this economic boom that's happening in the city. So they can be a part of it as opposed to being pushed out of it. So that's really my role, and I hope to live up to this, because it's a big task, but it's not something that somebody alone can do. It's something that is going to require a lot of time, a lot of effort, but I plan to invest my time, my effort. As an entrepreneur, when I started with my business, I started with the idea that I wanted to do something that I thought was worthwhile. And that is to create a place that feels and looks like DC, a place to bring people together, to connect people with one another. I've always wondered why a city is so divided. Why is a city that is supposed to be the capital of the United States of America so divided? I wanted to find a place where people can actually connect with one another. Black, white, young, old, Latino, anybody come together and feel welcome, feel comfortable. Because if we don't intersect with each other, we won't understand each other. And we'll continue to divide ourselves. We'll continue to fight over stupid things. So I wanted to create a place where people can actually look eye to eye, break bread together, and try to understand one another, because we are all human. We all want the same things. Everybody wants the same thing. They want to live in safety. They want to have a roof over their head. They want to have a job. They want to come home to their families. Everybody wants to have the same thing. So this is a city that I feel can become a model for the rest of the country. A model of racial justice, a model of harmony, a model of diversity that works, a model where everybody can succeed. A city that is not going to become changed because of the fact that the economics are changing. If the economics are changing, people should not have to be displaced in order for that to happen. People should be able to stay in their homes, be able to have their jobs, and be able to raise their families.
Yes.
For many people that have lived in this city, that have seen the worst of it, they shouldn't have to move out because it's becoming better.
Right.
That makes no sense.
That's right.
So my goal is really to ensure that the money that is being spent on workforce development is money that's going to be invested wisely. There's going to be accountability. There's going to be people that are going to have to get out of the way. We're going to make it work, and I need you to make that happen. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Snowden, can you get some opening remarks?
Hi, y'all. How y'all doing? Y'all look good. So I'm Courtney Snowden, Deputy Mayor for Greater Economic Opportunity. I've met many of you as I have run around Ward 7 and Ward 8 and other parts of the community that have been overlooked and underserved. Many of you heard the mayor talk about my position as the deputy mayor for East of the River when she was on the campaign trail. You heard that, right?
Yeah, I heard it.
You heard it. I like that call. We're in the church. It's a call and response action, right? Y'all heard it. Y'all heard about that. And when she went to create the position and really implement it and identify a person to become the deputy mayor for Greater Economic Opportunity, she realized two things. One, that there are overlooked and underserved communities all over the city. Not in Ward 3, but certainly some in 5 and 6, maybe 1 or 2 in Ward 4. And all of those need attention, even though the greatest concentration is in 7 and 8. But she also realized that part of the power of the deputy mayor is that they have agencies that report to them, and they can use the resources to leverage those against the resources of other deputy mayors to effectively create change and hopefully break down some silos, which we've been really focused on doing in this administration. In my cluster, I have the Department of Employment Services, the Department of Small and Local Business Development, the Office of African American Affairs, the Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys, and the Workforce Investment Council, where I get to work with Chairman Shalom. Now, we have been hyper-focused on expanding economic opportunity, in particular in overlooked and underserved communities. And we've really done that through 3 different levers. One is through small business development, creation, and support. So at the Department of Small and Local Business Development, if you've been recently, you'll notice a couple of things. One, everyone is much nicer. People smile when you walk up and there's someone for you to talk to provide you support and services. We have a lot of events and engagement because ultimately we've got to help small businesses start, grow, and thrive. Why is that important? In particular for my portfolio, because we know that small businesses are the economic engines of communities. And if we build small businesses in overlooked and underserved communities, we can effectively change communities. We can create jobs in communities, like all of these folks up here have done. We can create opportunity for our residents, and we can create better synergy between those who live here, residents who live here, and those who own businesses, both residents who own businesses and those that don't. So there are 4 things that we're working on over at the Department of Small and Local Business Development. We call it the 4 C's, helping to build the capacity of small businesses. Uh-oh. Let's see if I can remember the 4 C's. I haven't had coffee this afternoon, so let's see if I can do it. Faith, you might have to help me. Capacity, contracts, customer service, capital. How did I forget capital? That's the most important one. Thank you. So we are working to ensure that businesses, business owners, those who are currently in existence who need some more help to grow, and those who are trying to start have access to capital through micro-lending and grant programs. I'm going to come back to that. We want to make sure that everyone who walks in has a high-quality customer service experience and gets what they need. That those who want to do business with the city can do so and get their certified business enterprise certification. their CPE certification, and that we're helping them to be able to secure government contracts because we know it's an important way that people can grow their business and expand opportunity to others. With the Department of Employment Services, you heard Andy talk a lot about some of the challenges that we're facing. And what I'm excited about is we're really tackling those problems head on. Everyone has a DOES story. And I would say 7 out of 10 times, it is not great. But it's getting better. And I had an opportunity, one of the reasons why I'm so tired is because I had an opportunity to testify last night. I think we left the Wilson building at 9 o'clock last night, testifying before the council about what we are doing to improve workforce systems and programs here in the District of Columbia, and there's a lot. But there's one thing that we're working on that I really want to highlight tonight. When was that? Maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I went to the Commission for Returning Citizens meeting and had an opportunity to talk about the programs that we're working on to help get returning citizens employed, and importantly, to help them do some other things to be productive and create their own path to economic opportunity. A gentleman stood up in the back of the room, said he was incarcerated for 16 years. While there, he used his time incredibly well. He got every single certification he could get. He got an associate's degree. He could almost build a house by himself. And he said, Deputy Mayor, I can't get a job. You can't get a job, brother? I can't get a job. I said, well, maybe you should stop looking for a job and become an employer. Maybe you should start your own business. And so out of that, what has grown is a program that we hope to launch very soon, which is the Returning Citizens Small Business Academy, where we hopefully will be able to help returning citizens who are interested in starting their own business learn how to do it and get a little seed money to help them start their business. Why is that important? One, people hire people who are like them. Yes. Right? They hire people that they know, they hire people with whom they share values, right? And so, if returning citizens are the business owners and creating economic opportunities, then it's likely that they'll hire people who may not have had a straight arrow path, right? Well, what does that do to change our communities? Well, it helps keep our families, our friends home, helps to keep them out of trouble, but more importantly, it puts a little bit of money in their pocket so they really can take care of their families and get on what we call in this administration the pathway to the middle class. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff tonight, but what I want you really thinking about, one, is how you can generate your own new economic opportunity, right? Because here's the reality. When we talk about displacement in this city, and how many natives in the room? I'm 6 generations strong. I like to point that out. It just makes me feel good. You know, we have been here through some of the hardest parts, particularly in communities like the ones we're sitting in now, right? We have seen the worst of the worst. I lived through the 80s and the 90s. And now we're seeing significant prosperity expand in places many of us never thought possible. H Street, who would have ever thought H Street would look as H Street does? Right? Now, none of us want to go back to the days when H Street, when I could not walk on H Street, right? We don't want to go back to that. What we want to do is make sure that we're taking advantage of the economic growth and prosperity that exists and that we're getting to experience it as well. Owners get to experience it the most, right? Owners do. So you look at a place like Lee's Flower Shop. How long has Lee's Flower Shop been in existence? Long time. And why is Lee's Flower Shop not gone? Because they own it. Right? Vince Chili Bowl sits there with now more locations. Why does it get to sit there? They own it. Right? And so what we have to be thoughtful about as we talk about displacement, as we talk about how our communities are changing, you know, maybe I should have bought a less nice car and should have bought another piece of property. Right? Or maybe my baby doesn't need a new pair of Timbs this week because he just got some, right? Maybe I need to put that in some stocks. Or maybe I need to go buy some property so I can control the destiny of my community. Right? If all of us pooled some money together, this is some radical stuff right here. But let me say this about radical.
It's called
Susus. You know, when we talk about Dr. King, I'm going to relinquish the microphone for this, but when we talk about Dr. King, we think about the I Have a Dream speech and the Mountaintop speech, and all of those speeches were incredibly powerful, particularly the Mountaintop speech. But what really, I think, frustrated those who stood in opposition to Dr. King was his message around economic justice. And that came out a little bit later in more pronounced ways, right? And the reason why that's such a powerful message is because that capital, right, really does change communities. Who has access to capital, who has capital, and who owns things are the people who really have an opportunity to run the show. And so what my job is in the Deputy Mayor for Greater Economic Opportunities Office as the Deputy Mayor is to really create economic opportunity for our residents such that they can effectively grow and benefit from the prosperity, but also so that they can become owners and really determine the destiny of their own lives, their families' lives, and their communities.
One of the things I would like to say about Deputy Mayor Snowden, she always finds ways to come to the community. You know, a lot of times we get these people in office or who work for people in office, and they act like they're some special person on some high mountain we down here.
That's right.
She comes and touches the community, and we don't always agree. Most of the time, we don't always agree. But she understands that friction makes diamonds, and she has tough skin. And you have to have tough skin to bring about change.
Yes, sir.
You know, a lot of people in this game, when somebody says something they don't like, then they just block everything out. We got to get past that.
Right.
It's time for us to come together with our collective minds and get something going real fast because we don't have a lot of time. So without further ado, I'm going to start. And Sister Jones got to go. Let's give her a round of applause. No. Dr. Francis didn't have a memorial service for the sister at Howard, but we appreciate you too, sister, for all the work you've done in the community. We're going to start with Brother Clark to give us a testimony about the business that he started from this church. And then we're going to come back. There are going to be questions asked, you know, about your business and things of that nature. But give us a brief description of what you do, how the church helped you, how you see things like this can benefit other brothers and sisters that you know who are trying or have the vision of doing something like what you're doing, but really don't have maybe the motivation or the person that can grab their hand and say, come on, let's step out there and go to the next level.
So, the name of my company is Bonds & Clark Management Incorporated, Consulting Services Incorporated. We're a very small firm that focuses on providing IT security services as well as management consulting and event planning. We got started, my wife and I got started through prodding from Reverend Maxwell. He and I had several discussions about the contract that I was working on, and he suggested that it might be advantageous for me to start a business and continue the work. And I guess the purpose he served more than anything was an accountability partner to help me make sure that I followed through on all the things that needed to be done in order to set up the corporation and start running. And I think that was probably, well, that and the fact that he even introduced the idea of running my own company, something that I never gave serious consideration to. Those were the two things that I probably benefited most from Reverend Maxwell in this environment.
Next we have Mr. Jerry Jerome from Vice President of Biz and Diversified Inc.
Good evening, everyone. My story goes back, I'm a 6th generation Washingtonian as well. 6th generation. Versatility, yes. The one thing about Biz and Diversified Services is we're government contractors who help teach other people to become government contractors. We are a business startup, entrepreneurship. There are things that are going on with everyone in this room. What you don't realize is there's something in you that can become great. Okay? And when you have someone that's standing beside you saying, I'm gonna help you get there, That's all it takes sometimes. So I've been helping people start businesses since '91. And I started off in an area where you wouldn't think they would need any help.
That's right.
It was Upper Northwest. When Shaw Green Line Business and Professional Association, who I worked for, the Green Line from Howard University to Cardozo destroyed that entire neighborhood. Families, businesses that had been there for years were wiped out. So we had to help them recoup. And in doing so, we met people who wanted to start a business. So for the last 20 years, I've been helping people start businesses from the ground up. And now I come to East Friendship, didn't really think about it anymore. Then I spoke to Pastor Maxwell. He said, you need to help. So we've given classes, we've talked about investment, we talked about profit sharing, we've talked about things that when I was growing up, churches didn't really talk about. It was, God loves you, go home. Now it's, God loves you and He wants to see you prosper. I can be.
Can you hold it right there?
Yeah. So that can be words.
I'm probably one of only 2 Republicans in here. Some people think there's something wrong with people making money. God don't have no problem with you making money if you work hard and do it legally.
Exactly.
I just want to be clear with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong. If you go through the Bible, there are many verses on making money.
Exactly.
So we had some investment classes here, if people remember, and there's a gentleman I was talking to earlier about his business plan. He steps away from starting his own business. But sometimes when you get that one piece of information that you're not sure of, I'll do it next time. Keep moving, brother. You know, I'm looking you right in your face. Keep moving. You know exactly who you are. So I say that to say I can keep going on about this, but Business Diversified Services, we're here to stay, and we're going to make everything grow. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Mr. Rick Jones, 3D Catalyst. He has one phenomenal company, right? And he's doing some things that I think the government can use here, and some small businesses can use here. So please tell us about yours.
Good evening. My name is Richard Jones. I go by the name of Rick Jones. The name of my company is called 3D Catalyst. Design, development, and diversify. Now, basically, a CAD designer, which I am, CAD stands for Computer Aided Design. I started back, my story is a little bit different. I started back in 1963. Unbeknownst to me, my dad told me to take mechanical drafting in high school. Excuse me. I didn't know my business was going to start then. He was always on my case about your lettering stinks, your line work is not what it should be. How did you come with that answer? To make a long story short, when I got out of the military, I went from pharmacy, chemistry, to architecture. And because of that transition I made, I now have my own business. My disciplines are architectural, structural, civil, and mechanical, and HVAC. I develop sections, details, elevations, whatever. I've worked for some of the best companies in the world. Camp Dress and McKee, Stone Webster, Faye Spofford, just to name a few. And all these occurred when I was in Boston. And that's my story.
All the way next to Brother Shalal's Alexander Mosley. And he's a friend of mine who has a business in downtown Anacostia called District Culture. And I wanted him to kind of like share his story, but also share the pros and cons, the ups and downs, what it's like for a young black man to start a business east of the river and try to stay there, what type of supports you can use. I mean, give us a description of what you're going through and where you at. You know, you just bought a house on Ward 82, right? You just bought a house on Ward 8 on Chicago Street, you know, a young aspiring young man, so.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Alexander Mosley. I believe I'm a fourth generation. But I have a store called District Culture in historic Anacostia. And how that came about, actually, I was actually going to open a film studio in historic Anacostia. And I got a little scared, hesitated, and actually let the lease go. And I said, you know, I wanted to keep the entrepreneurial spirit going, so I found a space on Martin Luther King Avenue, 1922. And Darren Davis, who actually helped me get the place, who runs Anacostia River Realty, he made that happen. Him and a friend of mine, Anthony McDuffie. But I think the hardest thing, to piggyback, who said something about the certificates. I went to a lot of organizations, I'm not going to call any names, but I got to run around. Here, take these books, read this, and you'll be okay. I want you to come here every day, sign your name, just keep coming. Those are the type of things that I went through. So we need to figure out how can we get rid of these organizations that are making all this money by pushing people as numbers. So, you know, that's what I'm saying, what's going on. And that really breaks the spirit of a young person like myself who's trying to get started. And we need more people like the gentleman who just spoke, who has experience, Andy Shalal, and everyone on this panel to make these resources available to people like myself and anyone who wants to start their own business. And I think one of the challenges are I try to reach out to people who have positions, but it's hard to get to them. So here's a man right here, he can right open the store right next to me. So how can you mentor me? I'm not looking for any money. I'm just looking for an opportunity to grow and establish myself and so I can reach back and do it for the next person. And my store is called District Culture. It's a retail store. It's a normal retail store like a Shoe City, and we're still growing. We make custom shirts, we sell New Balance, felines, wrestlers, normal things like that. And I think one of the biggest things is safety sometimes. It's gone on 2 years since I've been there. So far I haven't been robbed, thank God, but yeah. Last year I did face a $15,000 loss from fraud, from credit card fraud, so that was a major blow to my business, but we're still growing. But I think like the biggest thing is basically the resources. Deputy Snowden says he works for, what's the company you work for again?
It's a deputy mayor.
Deputy mayor, I'm sorry, but what's the other, the agency? Right.
They report to me, tell me what you think.
I never heard about it. So that's crazy for me to be a young entrepreneur and not know about their agency.
I mentioned them to you when I came and bought shoes for my son.
When? I mean,
See? You were too tired because you were working so hard.
yeah, that might be it. But and that's basically it. I think I would tell any young person to not always think about the money, but follow your heart, your passion, because I think that takes you a lot further. Chasing the money, you know, is an illusion sometimes. So I say follow your dreams, and you know, stay focused and try to be around like, you know, minds like yourself who are going in that direction that you're pushing for. And that's basically it.
So let's give this Pastor Lord, we call him Pastor Lord, and this great panel around the floor. So before we move forward with questions, I'm gonna pass the mic and I'm gonna sit down now. We're gonna bring up Councilmember Vincent Orange real quick to talk about his, I want y'all to repeat after me. From incarceration to incorporation. Incarceration to incorporation. My brother. So, this is a guy who's always fought for the population of returned citizens in our city. Always. More than anybody I know, he's always given us a chance and he's been there to fight for us, for opportunities, for policies, etc. So anybody who fights for us, because you know I'm a returned citizen, and I'll be the first to tell you, I started a small nonprofit before politics, and we had 60 people working every day. And most of the 60 people were people who went to other nonprofits and who could not get a job nowhere. But after they finished with us, right, everybody wanted to hire, right? And one of the reasons are we not going to go for nothing. Return since not, we understand the game. So when you come work for us, you're not running no con on us. We understand our population. We're not scared of our population, right? So it's important to empower those people who were once those people you didn't want to deal with. So without further ado, I want to pass the mic and let him talk about this legislation. And he has a hearing coming up, right? Yes. On the 28th, we need people to testify, right? Okay.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much, Ron, for giving me an opportunity to come out. And it is extremely an honor and a privilege to be in the house of the Lord one more time. Amen. You know, and I was trying to find real quickly in the book of Ecclesiastes because it talks about the money. It says a whole lot of stuff, and then it ends by saying money is the answer to all things. And also, when you look in the Bible, you know, there's a book of Numbers, and the church, when they go to the conference, they always want to know who comes to the church. They collect the money and pass the plate. It is about the dollar bills, but it's what you do with those dollar bills. You do good things for people with those dollars. Because at the end of the day, you know, we have to pay our bills, and we have to make sure that, you know, we have a good foundation that we can build upon. It's great for me to be here today. It's good to see the Deputy Mayor here, as well as the other panel. Good to see our new chair of the Workforce Investment Council, Andy Salah. And I think all of us working together, we're going to make these things happen. And we need the community and business folks to come forward so we can participate in all this prosperity that's taking place in the District of Columbia. Now, in 1999, the District of Columbia had a deficit of $518 million. Remember, everybody was scared of Y2K. There was a control board that was in charge. And fast forward to today, we've gone from that $518 million deficit to nearly a $2 billion rainy day fund. We've gone from being about a $1 billion government, we're approaching being a $14 billion government. We've gone from junk bond status to AAA status.
That's right.
We've gone to the point where now the District of Columbia has one of the highest disposable incomes in the nation. We've gone from the point where everybody is knocking down our doors. They want to be in D.C. because they want to get into your pockets. And I'm saying all that is all well and good, but you know what? The people that have been here during the bad times deserve to be here during the good times. The people that have survived all this need to be able to participate and allow this prosperity. And now working with Mayor Bowser, we finally have been able to come up with numbers that the Inspector General agrees on, that the DC Auditor agrees with the numbers, that the Council agrees with the numbers, and the Department of Small Local Business Development agrees with the numbers. We know this year, in fiscal year 2016, we will spend $635 million procuring goods and services. And out of that $635 million, the law says that 50% of it must be spent with our small business enterprises in the District of Columbia. That is $317 million will be spent in our economy. Now, if you go to CBE Connect, that's cbeconnect.dc.gov, you will see the spending plan for all 88 agencies in the District of Columbia.
One more time.
cbeconnect.dc.gov. And if you were to add up all those 88 agencies, it will total $635 million. But more importantly, divided by 2, you will see the money that they are required to spend in the District of Columbia with our small business enterprises. And so we need to make sure that now we start talking about incarceration to incorporation, that we give our returning citizens an opportunity to participate in what's taking place. So there will be a hearing on January 28th at 10 a.m. where I'll introduce a bill that will require the Department of Employment Services and the Department of Small and Local Business Development, all under the jurisdiction of our Deputy Mayor for greater economic opportunity, to establish and provide for the maintenance of the Incarceration to Incorporation Entrepreneurship Program to educate, train, and assist returning citizens in becoming socially responsible entrepreneurs. Because if they don't want to hire you, then have your own job. Have your own business. And you go out and be a part of the success story. And so I am calling for $10 million to be set aside to fund this program and to bring it under the deputy mayor for economic opportunity. But we need you to come down because there's strength in numbers, and all of y'all here come down and testify and say you need this program, that you have business ideas, you want to take part of these opportunities, that you've looked at cbeconnect.dc.gov and you see how these agencies are going to spend this money, and you think that this will be an area in where you can provide goods and services in this particular area. Now, mind you, DC government is going to spend a whole lot of money on toilet paper. So why shouldn't you be the one selling the government toilet paper? And put your little markup on that and sell that. DC government is going to buy some pencils and some pens and some paper clips. DC government is going to have these nice little pamphlets and brochures if you want into the printing business. All these things are going to take place. And they're already saying that $635 million will be spent this year, and it's all documented. And so, you know, this is the opportunity for you to become a CBE. And we've made it a lot easier for you to become a certified business enterprise. And we've also made it more difficult for the government to waive those requirements. If the government ascertains that they believe they want to waive those requirements, they must first send an email to all 1,108 CBEs that are on record right now and ask them, can they do this work? And you get 10 days to tell them, yes, I can do that work, and it stops the waiver process. You get to go in and talk to Anna Harvey, and Anna Harvey worked for President Obama. Now she's our Director of Business Development, and tell her why you think you can do this business. And so when you look at, say, the soccer stadium, no, we will not manufacture the seats, but there's going to be a contract for the maintenance of those seats. You know, for the cleaning of those seats. So we got to start thinking about how we can get involved in this economic opportunities that are taking place. Also, I believe Darrell Simpson's on my staff. He's passing out a brochure. I'm hosting a small business and economic development summit. It's the 4th one. And if you sign in and come to this summit, Director Anna Harvey will host 2 sessions to tell you how you can access the system. She will go through that opportunity guide and show you the opportunities that are now available in the government. And Mayor Bowser is standing behind this program. She's made it clear to her directors that if you cannot meet the goals that you agreed to, that you signed off on, and that she sent this document to all 1,108 CBEs, if you want a waiver, you got to come to Mayor Bowser and get a waiver. So the buck is going to stop at her desk. So if you're one of her 88 directors, and you said that you have an obligation, you have an expendable budget of $10 million, which means you must spend $5 million with small business enterprises, and you can't meet that goal, you have to go talk to her. You have to go talk to her. And so, you know, we've done all that we can to set this up. It's in place, but we need you to come down and testify. Now, at the end of the day, it's all about numbers. I chair the Committee on Business, Consumer, and Regulatory Affairs. There's 5 of us on the committee. In order to get this bill out of my committee, we need 3 votes. You already got 1, that's me. So that means you need to look at it and see who are the other 4 that's on that committee. And we need 2 of those votes to get this bill out of committee. And then when it gets to the full council, there's 13 of us. You need 7 votes in order to get this bill to move forward. And even if you want to be what they call veto proof, that means even the mayor doesn't have a say. If we get 9 votes, then we're running the whole game.
All right.
So it's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, and y'all got to come out and make some noise and say, out of this $13 billion government, there should at least be $10 million set aside to help returning citizens. And in addition to that, I'm holding a hearing on February 1. Now, a lot of people say, well, Orange is talking about these tiny houses. Well, I've introduced legislation that will provide for affordable housing for our minimum wage and living wage population. So our minimum wage is supposed to get $11.50 per hour starting on July 1. It went from $9.50 a couple years ago, last year $10.50, this year $11.50 per hour. Our living wage is now at $13.84 per hour. The living wage is triggered whenever DC government puts $100,000 or more into a project. So with all these cranes around here, you know, we put $100,000 in a lot of projects. That means you get $13.84 per hour. So my bill calls for us to build 1,000 of these tiny houses, and they're not so tiny. My bill calls for a minimum of 600 square feet, and to build it at the top of the line, the luxury tiny houses, and these are $50,000. In addition to that, my bill calls for small business enterprises like Scotty Irving and Anthony Wash and those guys to build these houses. And in these houses, what you will have a bedroom, you will have a functional kitchen, you will have brand new plumbing, the living room, the whole 9 yards, but it's 600 square feet. But I can tell you, if you come to my hearing on February 1 and you look at what they're doing with these tiny houses, $50,000 luxury. I mean, they're so nice that senior citizens say, wait a minute, what about us? We don't fixed income. I'm a widow now. I can use that. And it's nice. And they're doing it in Dallas and they're doing it in Seattle. And you know what? It's $50,000 and we figured it out where you can get this for a mortgage of $500 a month. So a minimum wage worker is bringing home about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And you can take $500 and you know what? You will have a deed. It's yours. And you have that tiny house along with the tiny car, the zip car, and all that stuff, and you can get around town. So please make sure that you look at these hearings that we have. You know, now is the time for us to really jump out there and be a part of what's taking place in the District of Columbia. Because at the end of the day, we need a workforce in DC. We don't need a workforce that has to commute 3 hours in and 3 hours out. We need to be living right here in the District of Columbia. I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to live downtown at the city center, but I want to make sure that you have a home with a deed and you can make it in the District of Columbia. You can have a beginning, then you can change your family profile, you can help your children get a good education and move forward. And I'm saying all this from experience. I come from a poor background, a family of 10. My parents had 6th grade education, but there were some people that took an interest in me and gave me an opportunity to move forward. Now I'm an attorney and I'm a CPA, I have my LOM. I can be your hired gun and count your money too. And so let's make it happen. We're in this together. Together we stand, divided we fall. And also a lot of this is going to be coming to the WIC as well. So Andy Shalal is going to be in here with us. He knows how to make it work. So all of these great minds working together, we can make it work in the District of Columbia. But let me close by saying, like the late Calvin Roloff used to say, ain't nobody gonna take care of us but us. Ain't nobody gonna take care of us but us. So let's make it happen. Thank you very much for being here.
So I know we gotta leave. So I'm going to pass the mic to Andy and Courtney Snowden. I know a lot of people want to ask questions, but before you leave, it's something we used to always talk about, and that was about the $300 million that's supposed to go to local small businesses. That never happens.
What happened this year?
All right, so I want to know, you can help with this question too. What's going to be done to make sure we don't break the law? Because when the laws are set in place and you don't go by the law, that's breaking the law. So what are the consequences going to be if we don't do it, right? And how can we really do it? You know, we have these community benefit packages that never benefit the community, like the National Stadium, where money is supposed to go to certain places and it never happened. We know, a lot of people don't know that, but that's what happened. So what are you going to do, and Ms. Snowden, to ensure that, because like a lot of people just don't know, like public housing, people don't know that there is a legislation with public housing that any business that has 50% return citizens, or people from public housing, are supposed to get first right to contracts, first preference. But most people don't know that. It's a Little Lights, a company helped start a social enterprise is doing that right now in Potomac, Gaza. Young people went from mowing the lawn, right, to starting a landscaping company with a nonprofit to doing 350 jobs this year in Capitol Hill. And that's what we need to be doing. And now the guys don't live in public housing. That's what we want to talk about. We don't want to depend on nobody. So how do we get to the point where all these people in this audience, most of them want to work hard for themselves because they're born entrepreneurs. Right. How do we ensure that they really get a crack, and eat a piece of the pie?
Well, I think that is a very good question. And, this time around, we have already established that our small business enterprise community have been shortchanged to the tune of $1 billion in the last 3 years. And the late Mayor for Life and a lot of returning citizens, we all stood out in front of the Wilson building and we had a big rally that started all of this. Like, where's the $1 billion? Where's our $1 billion? And that's what we started. And then, that the current administration at that time was playing the game, like everybody blaming it on each other. So this time we went out and got the Inspector General to do an audit of fiscal year 2014 because those numbers were fresh. And we finally got the Washington Post to finally shine some light on this. Then the Inspector General came out and said, Orange, Marion Barry, those guys are right. They were shortchanged. The law says this, and they did not do it. And then when Mayor Bowser was the Ward 4 council member and chair of the Economic Development Committee, she worked with us, and I kept pushing, and we passed the laws. And then when she came into office, we worked with Anna Harvey and worked with Deputy Mayor Snowden, and we pulled together the numbers, and first we got everybody to agree that these are the numbers. There's no pointing the fingers that this is not the number. So now you have the book, and you can look at each agency and see their expendable budget divided by 2, that's what's supposed to be spent in the community. In addition to that, they're telling you how they're going to spend the money. And if I was on the other side of the equation, I'm now going to add up each agency to see whether or not it's profitable for me to maybe start a business in that particular category.
Right.
So now it's about holding everybody accountable, but at least we have a document. And the mayor is putting herself on the line by saying, if my people cannot make that goal, they have to come to me. And the buck's going to stop with me, and I have to sign off on their way. So everything now is transparent. It's out in the open. And now with Andy Shalal coming in as chairman of the Workforce Investment Council, there's going to be an announcement of the new executive director. So it's all in place. It's all transparent. So what I don't want to happen is at the end of the year, they turn around and say, well, the small business community didn't step up to the plate. They couldn't procure the goods and services. That's what I'm afraid of. But it's all out there. So, we really gotta make this work. But everybody is pushing.
How long does it take to get a CBE for somebody who doesn't have one in the audience?
To be honest with you, that's a little challenging process. It all depends on how prepared you are. If you have, your documents in place. But it really doesn't take a lot of money to get a CBE.
No, say you're holding the mic.
No, you're not holding the mic. This man, I would say I have to say this, there's only one person that comes before him in the advocacy of small business, and that's Mayor Bowser. I have to say that. But Councilman Orange has been such a strong supporter of small business and has really pushed our administration to even do more than we expected. So I don't mean to interrupt you, sir, please.
And then another thing we changed is once you become a CBE, if there is no material changes in your business, in other words, if you don't move your business and you keep the same management, then you can self-recertify. We're not even going to send you through that process anymore. You can self-recertify for a 3-year period. And so we have everybody on board. The CFO is on board, the Chief Financial Officer. We all agree on the numbers. That's the first thing, we agree on the numbers. We agree that this must be spent. We agree that the law says this. So now we got to get folks to come in and actually procure those goods and services. This is that the mayor says it's a fresh start. It's a pathway to the middle class. Now we got to test it. The proof is going to be in the pudding, but at least it's set up and it's transparent. And now we have to go for it.
Right. So, let's give him a round of applause. Appreciate you, brother. So, Ms. Snowden, I'm done. Andy, you can take it from here. Ms. Snowden, did you want to say something before Andy takes it?
I just wanted to say just a couple of things about what this administration has done. I think I call him Chairman Black, who chairs the committee with which I testify all the time, is absolutely right. We have done a significant amount to ensure that small businesses are able to access government contracts, and we've done a couple of things. You heard Mr. Orange talk about the 1,108 certified business enterprises that are certified in the district to do business with the government. A couple of things that we've been able to change, and very much so with the support and help of Chairman Orange. One, for a long time, government contracts have not been transparent. If you wanted to figure out how the government needed to do business or what opportunities there were, they were incredibly hard to find and very difficult to navigate. Well, that is not true any longer. On CBE connect.dc.gov, you will be able to see every single procurement opportunity over $1 million, and very soon you will be able to see everyone over $100,000 to ensure that you know when business opportunities are coming down the pipe, number one, but importantly, number two, you will know how to access them. Ron, you asked a question about how long it takes. The process can take some time, but what is very, very different is we now have staff able, ready, and willing to help you get through the certification process. We do a webinar as opposed to having to come all the way down to DSLBD. You can go to a webinar on the website and learn how to become a CBE. Once you get through that, you can be connected directly to one of our certification specialists who can help you secure a certified business enterprise. Just another piece that I want to add about what Mr. Orange said. For the first time, one of the challenges has been historically is that the CBE community is relatively small. There are lots of small businesses in the District of Columbia, but only 1,100 that want to do business with the district, or that are already certified to do business with the district. Those 1,108 businesses don't cover every single thing that the government needs. 60% of those businesses are construction, right? So that means there's a lot of opportunity that isn't taken advantage of because there is not a certified business enterprise that sells that which we need or performs those services. And so what the CBE Opportunity Guide that we worked incredibly hard to put together, what that tells you is where the gaps are in the current population of CBEs, right? So what you might find out, for example, if there, I just don't know I don't have a category off the top of my head right now, but maybe there's a water producer. There's not a certified business enterprise that produces water, and we have to buy water, just go with the example. And so if you make water, you can apply to become a CBE, get through the process, and then you can become the CBE that sells that to the government. So that's really what's special about both the CBE Opportunity Guide and the website. You can see both what opportunities are coming down the pipe in terms of what contracts are going to be available, but most importantly, you can see where there are gaps and where there's no competition for business. Now that's real opportunity. That means you have a captive audience that is ready to do business with you, and to the tune of some significant money, which again gets you to the other thing that's really important to me, hiring people to help you get the work done.
I don't know where you want me to take this, Ron, but I think also we have to remember that I'm not sure how many people are here to learn about how to do a CBE, honestly, and I assume that some of you are. But there are ways to obviously do that. You go online, meet with the deputy mayor or with people that know how to put that stuff together. I'm trying to think in terms of a small business and how a small business operates. And the deputy mayor of economic development and planning, who is Brian Kenner, he's not here obviously with us, but they oversee the department, the DCRA, which is the Consumer Regulatory Affairs, which basically the place you go to, it's a one-stop shop where you go in to try to get a business license, to try to get your inspections, to try to get all these things. And sometimes as a business person, having done business in the city, and this city is not unique, so I want to be clear with that. It's not, I've done business in Arlington, I've done business in Prince George's County, I've done business in other counties. There's a sense that government conspires to make you fail. And that's sometimes the feeling, honestly, for small businesses. And I'll give you one little example. On New Year's Eve, at Edenville, we're having a New Year's Eve party. Packed house. At 11:59, the ABC inspector shows up. And he says, "You don't have a dancing license, and people are dancing." I said, there's no dance floor. People are standing next to their table and moving, because that's what people do on New Year's Eve. We ended up with an argument that lasted for 10 minutes. I finally had to tell him, please leave the premises now. If you have a problem, cite me, write me a citation, and just leave. Well, you ruined my New Year's Eve. I wanted to kiss my wife at that time. I wanted to say hello to other people. That midnight moment was lost because of the, and I can't get it back. It's over, right? So I got, it kind of just gave me that moment thinking like, why does he have to do that? He knows that people, there's no dancing in the dance floor. It's midnight. I told him it's midnight, it's New Year's Eve. People don't just sit out. Black people don't just sit out on New Year's Eve and do nothing. It doesn't make sense. What's wrong with this man? So anyway, what I'm saying is that a lot of times what happens when somebody goes to try to get a license, it sucks the life out of you. Like, you want to go and feel like, as an entrepreneur, you're dreaming, right? You wake up in the middle of the night, you're dreaming of this business that you want to create, you're dreaming of the business, you're dreaming of the customers, you're dreaming of what you want to do, you're dreaming of the future, you're dreaming of this, and you have these dreams that are swimming in your head. Then you walk into a government office, and suddenly that dream is just sucked out of you. I want to change that. DCRA has 2 words, yes and no. They don't know how to say, let me help you. Let me figure it out for you. So if you walk in, you don't have all your paperwork in line, the answer is no. You know, and it's rare that you have everything in place. That's right. There's always going to be something missing. So that means you have to take off, go start another day, come back, stand in line, get another number, wait for another person, maybe face the same problem, maybe face a new problem, and suddenly you get worn out, and it wears you out. I want to see government change. I want to see government to become an ally. To government become actually not a hindrance, but really wants you to succeed. I've looked at people at DCR, I've looked at people, I said, do you know that I pay your salary?
Exactly.
I pay your salary. If I'm not a business, you don't have any business based in here. That's it. So I'm trying to figure out, Deputy Mayor, I know that you have a lot of conversations with Brian Kenner, Deputy Mayor, Economic Development and Planning. And I want to know, and I've been working with government for like 35 years, you know, it's been a long time. I know things have improved. I know they have. I can't say that there has not been any improvement. That would be silly. But things have improved. But it's so small and so incremental. What are we doing? And I want to ask business people in this table to tell me about their experiences. What kind of experiences have you had interacting with DCRA and with government?
So I'm going to let y'all tell every DCRA horror story. And I want you to, because I think it's important to inform how we address these challenges. But let me say a couple things that this administration is not hyper-focused on. I think, Andy, the mayor's been listening to you and other business owners loud and clear about the overwhelming challenges, and it is. The overwhelming challenge it has been to start and continue to operate a business in the District of Columbia. And as a result, we've done a couple of things. We partnered with the White House on something called the Start a Business in a Day initiative, where we are working to make it much, much easier to start a business. It should not take 10 weeks to start a business, right? If you have everything in order, you should be able to do all the paperwork and everything that you need to do in one day. And so DCRA has worked incredibly hard at that. Now what I will say, and I know the Deputy Mayor, Planning and Economic Development would kill me if I did not say it. We have a fantastic director of DCRA, Melinda Bowman, very talented. And she is working incredibly hard to make sure that the experience that consumers, residents of the District of Columbia have when they go to DCRA is much improved. And again, I will say it has improved a lot. There was a day in DC where you could throw up something and take your chances, and likely DCRA would never come and find you, right? That day is gone. For some, that is sad, but for many of us who live next door to those properties where things got thrown up, we're a little bit happier about that. So what I would say is we're committed to continuing to improve that. A couple of things we're doing, in addition to the White House Starting the Day initiative, is we are working incredibly hard to streamline all of the resources in government. We have this fantastic infographic of what it looks like to try to navigate, as a small business owner in particular, through the government. And the overwhelming number of agencies that you have to touch to get something done. You would think that our small business agency would be the agency that a small business owner would go to. But because that's primarily been a compliance agency focused on certified business enterprises, it hasn't been that. Well, we're fixing that. One, we're putting together a group of people to really evaluate what the challenges are and to develop a more seamless way for people to navigate it. I think the startup in a day has made a huge difference, but also really digging into the data to figure out what small businesses need and what things they're lacking, and that's what we've been really working to do. We're also launching, I think, probably next month, is that right, Faith, the small business roundtables, where we're going to travel around the city to talk to small business owners about the most significant challenges that they face. Because sometimes, you know, look, 10 months ago, I was youth, right? I was a community member, not in government, working in the private sector doing my thing, and decided to come in government because, like many of us who have joined this administration, we know there's a better way to do things. And we're working incredibly hard to make sure that better way rises to the top. But sometimes government solves problems without talking to the people that are affected, one, or they solve problems that don't exist, or they over-solve problems, which I think is what you're talking about in the case of APRA. And so what we're really focused on is making sure we're hearing the most significant challenges from small businesses. What is it that impedes you starting a business or impedes your growth? Now, Andy's been able to grow successfully in spite of some challenges that other business owners have had, and I think probably you've capitalized on some of the challenges that other business owners have had. And so one of the things that we're eager to continue to do is engage small business in real conversation about how this city can become even more exciting and easy for folks to open and begin to build businesses.
I want to ask thank you so much, Deputy Mayor. I want to ask the business people and on the panel some of the challenges that they faced in starting your business and currently.
I haven't had too much challenges, primarily because when I started my business, I had a laptop. And I had AutoCAD 2014 on my laptop, so the only thing I had to do was buy a printer. When it comes down to the DCRA, having been a prior employee of the DCRA.
He don't count. He don't count. That doesn't count.
I knew what stuff was, I knew which people asked the questions were, and basically, but my daily challenge is basically getting the paperwork necessary to get certified, certification. Finding out who I talk to, let people know who I am and where I exist. You wouldn't believe I lie in bed at night awake, my brain's going 24/7. My wife said, why don't you go to my camp? I'm thinking about what I gotta do. But the main thing I would say is that when you have a business, one of the main things you have to do is stay focused. You have to network, you have to get out there and let people know who you are, what you do, and how you can be reached.
That's right.
And you also need to have a capability statement, business card with a logo on it, and you also have to have an email address where people can see what your past works are. You must get retooled or get educated. Got to get certified, get the paperwork done. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is very, very, very important. You must maintain a clean record. And that's for security purposes, and I'll tell you why. Back in, I think it was like back in 1978 when I worked for Stone & Webster in Boston, Massachusetts, they sent me to troubleshoot a nuclear power plant. And basically what I did was go down there, make some sketches, came out, produced a finished drawing. To make a long story short, I had to go through several evaluations, both mentally and physically, because I would be working with nuclear power. Okay? There's 3 other gentlemen there that had more experience than I did, but for some strange reason, when I got to the power plant, my security clearance was waiting for me. And they had to wait for theirs to come in, because theirs didn't come in yet. So I was talking to one of the guys I worked with and said, that's the good thing about having a clean record. So whatever you do, make sure that you have a clean record. I mean spotless, because they will investigate you from the time you came out of your mama's womb to where you are now. And they did a background check now, I mean, that you wouldn't believe.
Now that has to do with working in a security type of environment. I mean, it's not.
I feel like that though in DC.
They
Yeah.
make you feel like you're getting a background check for nothing.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. So let's move to the next, and see what kind of challenges do you have starting a business currently?
Well, currently the first problem I have is instructing my client that this isn't going to happen overnight. So although you're telling us, the process shouldn't take 10 weeks. Yes,
Should take it.
I have to let them know that, if you don't have everything that I'm asking you for, this is going to take a minute. And I hold your hand, I'll walk you down, I'll show you, we can catch the bus, we can catch the Uber, I don't care, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. So, and it's going to cost you a little something. See, so some people have the idea in their mind that I'm going to start my business and be up and running tomorrow. It's not that easy, especially if your paperwork isn't in order. DC has come a long way from me going downtown to now I'm over in Southwest. I did a project for a person that did it in one day, and they were amazed. I'm like, if the stuff is in order, we can get it done. So with each new client, the first thing I have to let them know is, it's not going to happen today, but we will get it done. And like the Deputy Mayor is saying, it's a whole lot better than it used to be. So 2015, 2016, I'm expecting things to be even better.
All right, thank you.
So from my perspective, probably the two biggest challenges that I faced in starting a business was, where do I start? My business is incorporated in the state of Maryland, and so once I had the idea or was encouraged to start a business, I just had to figure out, what do I do in order to, create this legal entity, because essentially that's what it is. And so the majority of my research started on the internet, and Google is a great friend. So I Googled, how do I start a business in Maryland, and took it from there. The second challenge I had was, okay, what do I do next? Once I've filed all the paperwork, received articles of incorporation, received my tax ID number, what do I do next? For my specific business, I was going after government contracts. And so I had to find out, what environment or where do I find those contracts? How do I find out what contract is, which contracts are being bid on, things of that nature. And once I figured that piece out, primarily through talking to Reverend Maxwell, and again, doing a lot of searching on the internet, the next biggest hurdle I had to get over, and still working to get over, is, how do you write a proposal for those contracts that will be the one that's selected, and understanding that the selection process is very ambiguous. And so those, for me, are the biggest challenges, or were the biggest challenges for starting a business.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, Reverend Maxwell, you encounter a lot of people that are entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs. What are the most common things that you face that when you talk to entrepreneurs about starting a business and staying in business?
There is a institutional suspicion.
Meaning what?
That my passion to start a business is, or I'm starting already from a negative. That they're going to deal with my personal credit, and so because my personal credit is fragmented because of a lot of other reasons, and some personal too, it's hard to get to a place because the banks are going to want personal guarantees, and I want to pursue a contract. When you get into the construction field, most of the businesses, they are able to do the work. They have a work history, but they get in with bid bonds, performance bonds, and payment bonds. And they don't have the capital to be able to get those kind of bonding. And so we have to be able to create some kind of place where people who have that expertise and know how and have the integrity and may not have a long-term credit history, but has showed a progress, but also can get bonding.
Because we have a lot of people who are capable of doing construction. We have people in our church, I saw Mike Warren here and some others, who can turn a house around. With gentrification that's going on, we would like to hold our property. So we have skilled men who can go ahead and turn around a house, fix it up and so forth. But they can't do 10 houses and 20 houses because we can't get it capitalized and we can't get the bond.
So how do you help them?
Well, some of the things that I do is let's take a small project at a time and build credibility.
There you go.
My other wiggle in this is I take them into the federal government process. Because the federal government doesn't require the same things that DC government and other people do. And so I bring them in the government, federal government procurement, and DOD procurement system. I can put them into a business in one day, get their cage code, their DUNS number, their federal ID. I can put them in that system, and then I can teach them how to select bids. And so there's a lot of rules. The Federal Acquisition Regulation is a lot of rules that you have to know, be aware of. So I kind of counsel them through that process and get them to the door. So at least that get one first to build the experience rating, which we can get two.
Are you trying to say it's easier to get into the federal government than the DC government?
That's right. Let me explain why. Once we get one contract, we can leverage it and do an assignment of contract with the bank and not have money like is required. So we assign assignment of contract at the bank look at it as an asset. And so the receivable will come through the bank will take their payment for the loan and they'll put it in there. It makes a big difference.
Is it because the federal government is more dependable from the bank's perspective?
I believe, well, you got several things. You got SBA-backed loans available. You have mentorship and teaming agreements that work a little bit better within the federal government context than it does in some of the DC government. DC government practices are modeled off the Federal Acquisition Regulation.
But not perfectly.
But not perfect.
Right.
They have a lot of politics that shaped a lot of their procurement practices. But we can lead those things by getting a federal government contract, build our experience first, capitalize it, and then begin to grow step by step. We got to get through the door first. It's hard to do that with DC government. The CBE process was horrendous and unfair. And there's a lot, it's who you know. There's people who I know.
It was.
Who knew somebody up in the office and they walked into and they were incompetent. And their businesses failed and they just got money. And they wasn't even interested in performing. And so it was based on who they know. But now it's much more tighter, much more transparent. I love that word. And we have an opportunity to do some new things. With the amount of money that's coming through, I would like to see your agencies to allow churches to be able, because we deal with our constituency every week. And we can systematically bring them through a process to get them ready for CBEs. We're doing that now. We can get them ready to be able to present themselves as Vincent Orange was talking about. We deal with reentry. We deal with all these issues. And we have them all in one place. What you do in the workplace, we're doing that. A lot of our members are doing that. They're bringing reentry persons on their job. But if they had you or a tool to be able to bring them on and train them and have some backing, some resource backing, we can magnify that by 1,000.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend. So we'll go, thank you. So one more on the panel, and then we'll have more questions to the audience. So tell me about your experience with some of the obstacles and some of the good things that have happened with DC government.
Actually, mine was easy. I paid someone to do all my paperwork, take it down. So I didn't have that issue from previous run-ins with DCR, and I just paid someone to do it.
I see. So you had like an expediter.
Yes.
Very good. How about like continuing business? Have you had any issues or?
So far right now, no, I haven't had any.
Okay.
I haven't had any issues.
All right, Pete.
I do need to finish my CBE though. I started the process, but I didn't finish it. So.
Well, we'll be neighbors. We'll be talking a lot.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, let's open it up for questions.
My question is, y'all said a lot of different resources. Where are these resources located? Because I have been to DCRA on many occasions. And the stuff that y'all told us today, we have never heard of.
Go to dslbd.dc.gov.
Say it again.
Department of Small Local Business Development, DSLBD.dc.gov.
And the things that y'all said is offered, like you were saying about DCRA, and you were saying it was changing. I've been there at least in the last month, and the things are still the same. It is extremely hard to get anything done down there. The staff is still completely rude. Completely rude. And you walk out of there empty-handed every time. Every process requires you to pay a fee for this, a fee for that, a fee for this. You're saying that they're helping, but they're not. You're talking about people that don't have money. So if I don't have money and I work a 9 to 5 to take care of my kids, and they supposed to be helping people that's trying to develop small business, where would I get $500 and $600 for paperwork? And that's all it is. It doesn't even stipulate that I might have a license after I spent my $500 or $600. I'm not a big business. I'm one person.
So I'd say two things. I mean, I think that a challenge is, and I think these gentlemen up here can tell you, I didn't realize I was going up here until just right now. Look at that. Right, I am a rose. You know, look, these things, you're going to have to invest some capital to start a business. It is just a fact.
We just don't have the capital.
And I understand that, but
hold on. So what we have done at DSLBD is worked incredibly hard to create some capital programs, micro lending and otherwise, to help people start businesses. Now, this is the reality though. Not that you're asking for it, but this isn't free money. You got to work for that money. And so you got to come and participate in some of the workshops and get into the academies. I have a great example for you. We launched at the beginning of the administration something called the CEO Academy. And we are really proud of that. We took 35 small business owners, some smaller businesses, they're all small businesses, some at different levels of success. We worked with those businesses, got them prepared to get bonded, worked to help them get bonded. These are all construction businesses. And collectively, they've worked together to secure $14 million in contracts in less than a year. That's something. And it's a very different thing than we've ever done at DSLBD. We have a number of programs, educational programs and training programs to help people start their own businesses, to think about how they can access capital, to help them access capital. And we've created some capital opportunities. So all you gotta do is shoot me an email. Everybody listening? Everybody got their pen out? Here we go.
Wait a minute, we'll go slow.
All right.
Respond to all these emails?
No. Yes, I will. So just email me at Courtney.Snowden, COURTNEY.SNOWDEN@dc.gov. Shoot me an email, I'll connect you to the right person at DSLBD, and we'll get you started.
So do DCRA give out this information? Because like you was just saying, if you don't know it, then how would people get this information? Luckily, we're sitting in here tonight, because everything that was said up here on this panel, I have never heard.
Aren't you glad you came tonight?
One of the things that we wanted to do.
But what about people that's not here? What about those families that do want to start their own business? And because when you go in DCRA, they don't give you this type of information. They don't let you know that there are agencies out here that can help you. There are other programs you can go through. They basically say, give me the paper and your money, and if you don't have this and you don't have that, then you need to walk out the door.
Well, one of the suggestions that was brought up at one time for the DCRA is to have a small business concierge. Someone who's actually an advocate, not someone who's there to stand and put a wall in front of you, but someone who's actually able to walk you and guide you. And I don't know if that's happened yet. I haven't been to DCRA for a while. I've been there for about a year. But the last time I was there, that wasn't there. Now, as the gentleman there said who used to work for DCRA, you know, once you know, and once you create relationships, it's a different world. It really is a different world. So, unfortunately, that's the reality. It's who you know, and where you go, and who you talk to, and how you say it, and, you know, time of day, and all of those things make a big difference. It really does. And I agree with you. I think your experience is not unusual at all. I had the same frustration you had exactly when I started my business. Exactly like you said. So I'm feeling you. I know exactly what you're saying. But I've always wanted to see a concierge there who's able to actually not have to send you home. Because like you said, you need childcare, you need transportation, you need all this. You take time off from work and you go there, you don't have time to come back again and again and again. I understand. And that really needs to change. That really needs to change.
One of the things I want to say about that is that That's why we're doing what we're doing right now in the community. Because one, we have to get information to the community, and also people need to hear the frustrations of the community, not in a negative way. I mean, it's good to hear how people feel, because without hearing how people feel, we can't bring about change. You know, I've seen plenty of times where people would say that things are better, and administrator might think things are better, but something's contrary to what their staff and people are telling them. I do this with the government all the time, and I say, no, the police department is not like this. No, this department is not like that. They're telling you this, but it's this. Oh yes, the police department is doing this. Yes, this department is doing a great job of that. So we have to let the government know what they're doing good and what they're doing bad and hold them accountable, right? And I just want to commend Ms. Snowden, because whenever we ask her to come into the community, she is not scared to come. And I'm telling you, we did not have that before. And stand up. I want these two young ladies right, stand up. I'm gonna give you a love example. Stand up. These young ladies right here are part of what we call check. Yvonne, always been a young, beautiful young lady, but she got Title 16 for armed robbery, taking care of her siblings. Netta was shot 3 times with an AK-47. Trinidad. But they about to start their own business. They're in career connections. Right? And they work with Contemporary Family Services, who are going to train them how to be outreach workers and pay them $25 an hour, and they have a partnership with DYRS. So when she talked to Dr. Monroe, what she said to him is, we don't want these jobs that don't hire our people and allow them to stay here. We want jobs that are, this came from her mouth to a guy that I worked with. Yeah. And I'm just telling you, this is the type of fight that you have, somebody fighting for you when you don't see it. So, trust me, sister, what you saying to her, somebody will get chewed out of mouth. Trust me. And that's what we need. That's what we need. We need people who are going to listen and take action. So, you want to say something about it? I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. That's my chief of staff.
Okay.
So 2 things. So yes, you can email the deputy mayor, but if you want to get her, you might want to call our front desk or call our office.
202-545-3071. That's Faith. Faith is my chief of staff. She
Get that one more time, please.
202-545-3071.
Go slow, girl, go slow.
That's that East Coasting.
And Faith is fabulous. I'm telling you, she is good. I've never called or wanted to follow up without her calling and getting back to me faster than I could have ever imagined. I want to say my hats off to you, Faith.
Certainly faster than me. 202-545-3071.
And then the other number I was going to give is to DSLBD. So the Department of Small and Local Business Development that we keep talking about. Their number is 202-727-3900. And if for some reason you have an issue at DSLBD, then definitely email the deputy mayor or call our office. But we will make sure to tell the folks at our office to have all the information that we talked about tonight. So if you call us tomorrow, we can, and give us your email, we'll send out links and connect you with someone at DSLBD.
Can I ask a question? How many people, I'm going to get back to Handy. How many people here have their own business? Okay. How many people are interested in starting their own business? Okay, that's one.
Okay, I have 2 quick questions. First, it was asked twice about the general time frame that it takes to get your CV started, and that question kind of was danced around a little bit. So even if you can't be specific, can we get a general idea of how long it usually takes from Genesis to
award?
Right.
Yeah, the reason why you haven't gotten a direct answer is because it varies, right? You have to do a fair amount of substantive work to illustrate that you are both, that you meet the requirements that they have to become a certified business enterprise. And that really is for the protection of DC residents, right? There were companies all over the country that would have people just get an address or an office in a house, right? And they would become certified business enterprises and then be able to get government contracts and not meet the spirit or the letter of the law. we've improved that, and so it can take some time. It usually doesn't take more than, 6 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
But it can take longer. So if you come with your documents in order, if you go through the webinar, you'll learn every single thing you need to do, and if you do it, you can pretty quickly move through the process.
I want to ask the Reverend, because you help people get their CVs. What's the time frame in real life that happens?
About 60 to 90 days.
About 60 to 90 days.
How to really keep your paperwork tight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, can this young lady come to your place and
Jerry will take care
and
of
do this? Here we go.
Okay, wonderful.
You got a connection.
All right, and the second question is regarding the government contracts, DC government contracts. You all mentioned goods and services. As part of the services, because I know you mentioned event planning, do you all hire? Is that I know that you said that there was a site listing of where the gaps are, and I was wondering if that was one of the gaps, because that's really been my field for the past 15 years. And if I were to get into something, if you guys were reaching out to hire people for event planning or things of that nature, that would be something that I would be really interested in. So I was just wondering if that's something that falls into that gap that you referred to.
So there are a lot of gaps,
Okay.
right? If you think about it, with 60% of the 1,108 CVs being focused solely on construction projects, I can't list off every single gap.
Right.
And I can't remember. I can't remember if event planning
It's
falls
always
into that.
called only event planning.
Right.
You'll find it it's the same service. They sometimes call logistics management. And they have about four different titles that you have to look on. You can't just center on only event planning. Yeah, logistics management. You also have one called, that's really scheduling. They call it scheduling. It's a nice name, but they call it schedulers and schedules, but it really is event planning. And then they have what is called administrative events. So if you look under those four services, you can start locking it down.
All right. We have time for a couple more questions, I think.
One right here and the gentleman right here.
All right.
Miss Nolan, how you doing?
Where are you? Oh, okay. I'm like, where are you? Okay.
Mike Warren.
Hi, Mike.
You might not remember me.
I do.
Work with you.
I remember. What's that place called? Chinese restaurant. I remember.
Yes, and
Don't do me like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because one thing I do want to say is thank you, because you let me bring two little guys off the street to work in your campaign and give them an opportunity to see what politics is like. So I thank you for that. Now, here's one of the war stories for DCRA. This was today.
I just want to say, it's not in my cluster.
This was today.
But we gonna get this thing.
That's not her department.
That's not, they don't report to me, but
I think this speaks to how it hinders the growth of small business. I'm doing a conversion, basement conversion for a client. And we had to go through the Dropbox to get the plans permitted. Been in there for 2-3 months. Get it permitted, we get it finally to get to review. I go down there, they say, well, you have to go through zoning. I say, great, give me the application. They go through zoning so that they can get special permission to do what we're trying to do. I said, good, what's the turnover time? They said 4 months. Now, I've been waiting for 3 months for the
3 months.
permits. 3 months for just to get them to review the permits. And then they say, you have to go down to zoning that's not even in DCRA. And I gotta wait 4 months. So I've been waiting 3 months. I got guys working with me. I can't pay them because we gotta cease working. So that's part of the hindrance. Now, I know big companies don't wait.
That's right.
Right? They don't wait that long.
they sometimes wait. They complain to me too, but I hear your point. The bigger point is no one should be waiting that long.
And this was today. So tell me, how do I navigate? Because I got a floor open. I need electric run. I need to close the floor up so he can then rent this place to get income. I can't make money. He can't make money. And I have a 4-month wait starting today.
So this is what I would say. I can't solve every single problem, and you're not asking me to, right?
I'm sure.
But what I can do is help, as I think the mayor would instruct me to do, is I can help shine light on problems throughout government so that we can improve them, right? Ultimately, right, I know you are employing folks. I've met them, right? And I know that having you being able to continue to move your business quickly allows you to employ more of my people, right? And so what I would say is when people are having trouble with government, sometimes, I know this isn't true for you, sometimes we come to rooms like this and we raise the issue. Sometimes we go to our friends and we talk about how frustrated we are. Sometimes we go to God, right? We go to a bunch of places and talk about it, right? But what we sometimes don't do is sit in front of a computer and tap out an email to your friendly deputy mayor and say, hey, this thing happened to me. Is there anything you can do to shine some light on this and help me understand how to better navigate this process? Now, like I said, and Faith is going to throw something at me. I can't solve every problem, and I have a lot of work to do with my own agencies, don't I, Amy? I have a lot of work to do with my own agencies.
Yours is brand new.
Brand new.
You have, just the infrastructure.
Yeah, but the agencies are not new.
That's true,
right?
that's true.
But what we can do is we can really help figure out how to move things and draw attention to some of these things. And so all you have to do is send me an email that says, this is what happened, anything you can do. And I'll tell you a quick story. Someone called me last week and they were having an issue and they just couldn't seem to get the issue to budge. Couldn't seem to get the issue to budge, right? The person with whom I had to talk was not my direct report, but I gave her a call and said, hey, is there anything you can do about this? And magically, a week later, problem solved. Now, could that have happened before without my intervention? Maybe, right? But we won't know because we have the benefit of my intervention, and it did happen. Right? So what I would say is if you're experiencing challenges with DCRA, the mayor actually reads emails. If you're experiencing issues with agencies, the mayor, someone reads them, because I know, because then I get an email to say you need to respond to this, right? Email the agency, email me, email others in government, either with whom you have a relationship or with whom you don't. We are a responsive government. I'm telling you, this fresh start language is not just a slogan. This is a fresh start government. We're working incredibly hard. And if those who haven't heard that message loud and clear, right? If you're walking into an agency and people are treating you with disrespect, I'll tell you this, Mayor Bowser has no tolerance for that. No tolerance for that. So you just have to let somebody know. So take the time to send an email.
I think he wanted to say something.
I just want to say one thing. If there's anyone here who wants to start a new business who is waiting for the government to give them anything, I don't want to rain your parade, but you went for a rude awakening. Most of us probably played the Powerball here, man. None of us hit. So you got to get up on your butts and do what you need to do to make your business happen. Don't worry about the government. Everybody don't get no contract from the government. So don't even worry about that. Do what you need to do to grow your business, learn your craft, and make it happen. That's what you need to do. Point blank. Don't be worried on no government contracts. It might not happen.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, because both of y'all are here, and I really believe that DCRA need to have small business minded persons in there.
Right.
Until small business minded persons, entrepreneurs, people who really, because their mindset is institutionalized, I don't think Mayor Bowers or Doug can change that long institutional pit, I call it. But if we move that out of the office and created a streamlined office that's focusing on small business and some of the problems like Mike Warren talked about, we can really make businesses stronger.
I agree. I haven't met anybody really, and from the deputy mayor to the mayor to others, who does not have their heart in the right place. I think they all want to do the right thing. Sometimes the structures are so intransigent. You may want to do the right thing, but you can't oversee 33,000 people. I mean, it's impossible to do that, right? So I think that's really part of it. We're supposed to be opening Bus Boys and Poets on Martin Luther King Avenue in Ward 8 in Anacostia. I was supposed to have opened 8 months ago. Every time I see somebody, when are you opening? When are you opening? And I say, it's really out of my hands. I have no control whatsoever over that. The landlord has to get the building up to speed, and then they hand it to me, and then I have to go get permits to make it a restaurant. The landlord's process took 9 months at DCRA. 9 months. The reason why is because they're switching from online to from paper to online, and stuff gets lost in the shuffle. People are trying to figure out the system. So we were stuck in that window, unfortunately. It's not Mayor Bowser's fault. It's not Mayor Gray's fault. It's just the system is so chunky and so difficult. That's what's taking time. So for me, in an area that has unemployment of 14%, for young men, much higher than that, 25%, I can hire 100 people. I can hire 100 people. And I'm planning on hiring everybody from this board, from Ward 8 specifically.